Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is me, Marjoy YONSON of Section AM2. Back again for another video. This video contains my response to the 5 questions given to us by our dear beloved Professor, Dr. Celestina B. Siglos. We are given 5 questions for our final examination. For our first question, what are the key differences between language and communication? Please provide a real-life situation. Communicating with others is a basic human need. Healthy living involves interacting and engaging with others. Our primary means of doing so is through shared language. So, the key differences between language and communications are as follows. Language is a system of communication that uses both verbal and nonverbal codes to convey information. And communication is the process of 2 or more people exchanging messages or information while focusing on the message. Language is a communication tool. Communication is the act of sending and receiving messages. Language evolves over time as new terms are invented, so it's dynamic. While the basic steps of communication remains unchanged, so it's called static. Language emphasizes words, symbols, and signs, while communication emphasizes the message itself. People have access to a variety of communication networks. They can have face-to-face conversations, call each other via messenger or phone calls, send and receive text messages, send emails, and even the use of social media platforms. Also reports, signs, flyers, leaflets, as well as brochures, ads, emails, television, and radio are all channels of communication. In a real-life situation, for instance, me and my best friend exchange phone calls. The language we use is a medium that helps us communicate and convey our thoughts and even our feelings. Expressions of feelings and thoughts can be sent through sounds, gestures such as written or spoken, phrases, posture, gesture, or signs which the receiver interprets as a specific meaning, while feedback is vital to the communication process and is just as important as message delivery. So the act of communication is incomplete without feedback. Communication can be formal or informal, and it can take form of verbal, oral, nonverbal, or written communication. Moving on to number 2, how does language reflect our cultural bias? Please provide a real-life situation. Language reflects our cultural bias in a way that when we attempt to navigate the perspectives or the experience of others from the framework of our personal compass of cultural understanding experiences, your cultural experience tends to lead us or to lead you to prejudice against people that have had cultural experiences that are not close to yours. So bias has a way of sneaking into our everyday language use, often undetected or we are unaware. Language that is culturally biased may refer to one or more cultural identities such as ethnicity, gender, age, sexual orientation, or ability. For instance, in a situation wherein we have a public speaking engagement and we try to navigate the perspectives of others through the framework of our own compass of cultural experience in the middle of the speaking engagement activity, our cultural experience automatically biases us towards the similar cultural experience to whom we are speaking to. So remember that the bias does not always mean exclusion. It may also imply a preference for one's culture over another. This cultural bias may take the form of preference for one culture or cultural experience over another, or it can take the form of complete detachment from one culture or cultural experience over another. So bias may be both intentional and unintentional. That's why we have to be careful. We have to be accountable for what we say, even if we didn't intend a particular meaning. Remember, meaning is generated. It doesn't exist inside our thoughts or words. Third question. Differentiate linguistic performance from linguistic competence. Please provide a real-life situation. Linguistic competence, by Noam Chomsky's definition of language and parole, is close to that of Saussure. Chomsky defines competence as the native speaker's knowledge of his language, the rules that govern it, and his ability to produce and comprehend. On the other hand, performance is the study of the systems of rules. It is the study of individual sentences, the actual use of language in real-life situation. So, the speaker's linguistic competence is his knowledge of the structure of language, and the way he uses it is his linguistic performance. So in a real-life situation, for instance, the valedictory address of my beloved friend, Kimwelboy Abella Cortez, who is also currently studying at CCSA under Section AM3, in his speech, I could truly say that he possessed an amazing linguistic knowledge. I mean, his knowledge of words and grammars used was breathtaking, and the actual use of the language and the way he relayed his valedictory address, I could honestly say that he possessed an amazing linguistic knowledge. I am fascinated by how he integrates his expertise of his knowledge to speech production and comprehension. So we may conclude from the aforementioned real-life situation that a linguistic competence refers to knowledge of words and grammar in the English language, with a focus on language users' grammatical knowledge of syntax, morphology, phonology, and so forth, as well as social knowledge of how and when to use utterances appropriately. And linguistic performance refers to how we integrate this knowledge into actual speech production and comprehension. Moving on to the fourth question. Explain English language education in the Philippines, policies, problems, and prospects. In the Philippines, English is highly regarded for not only because it is functional and practical, but also because the greater one's ability to understand and use it, the better one's chances of advancement in the workforce or in the career. The English language is the language of commerce and law, as well as the primary medium of instruction in formal education in the Philippines. The Philippines language policy is to maintain English as a foreign language and as non-exclusive language of science and technology. The use of Filipino and English as instructional media would be limited to particular subjects in the curriculum. The English language education in the Philippines is frequently faced with low academic performance among Filipino students. This is due to many factors such as poverty, lack of school facilities, qualified teachers, and learning resources. So the country uses English language as an international language for communication. And because the majority of the population has a degree of fluency, but not most people from other countries know that English learners from the Philippines are also facing difficulties in learning to speak English. Some Filipinos cannot speak or write English at all. Those groups of people are what we call the indigenous people, from tribes or people that lived in the mountains and villages. Also, the adults or the parents who haven't had the opportunity to go to school during their time, and children who are in a poor family. So the prospects for the future or possibilities are weighed, and some guesses that and estimates made on the future of the local languages and the second language, which is English. English language education in the Philippines continue to learn from the past and reframe its present and transform its future. So there's a possibility that Philippines can be a destination for English teachers, training programs needed by the teachers in ASEAN countries, for the reason that the courses here in the Philippine universities, continued English, offered less expensive compared to the other universities in the other countries like Singapore and Malaysia. Moving on to the last question. Explain the differences between sociolinguistics and discourse. Please provide real-life situation. Sociolinguistics and discourse analysis are closely intertwined in the English-speaking world, with the lines between them obscuring at times. Sociolinguistics studies how speakers from different social groups communicate the same meaning in different ways, while discourse analysis studies how one linguistic type can take on different meanings in different contexts. Sociolinguistics is the study of language varieties and how they identify and differentiate social groups, such as how people of various ages genders, social classes, and regions use different words, grammatical forms, sounds, and intonation tolerance. Whereas both linguistic disciplines study the way language is used for communication, the focus of study differs. When interpreting a piece of discourse, the interlocutor's social identities and communicative patterns can need to be considered. Understanding how meaning is constructed in a particular communicative sense often helps in describing how various social groups interact and identify themselves. For instance, this is actually a true-to-life situation. We have a missionary pastor from USA. Filipinos are known to be joker. So one time I told our pastor a joke, but guess what? Everyone laughed. My fellow Filipino laughed, except him, our missionary pastor. My joke ended up with an explanation because he does not understand my joke, and considering that he is from the other culture and the terms that I use does not apply to them, to him. Also, the overfield of experience does not overlap. I think I answered all the questions given to us. That will be all for now. Thank you for listening. God bless.